Well, first of all, I want to thank you guys for joining me. This is a nice gift from Terry Levine to invite me to come and do a little presentation for all of you. I'm sort of excited to be here because I've been thinking about this all morning and saying, okay, what can I bring to you that would be of real value? And I think the number one issue that we're all dealing with right now is social media. So today we're going to talk social media. Oh, that's a surprise, right? Everyone's talking about it. But I want to do something a little bit different. I want to sort of take you back in time because a lot of people, when I ask the question, I say, okay, how old is social media? They'll go back and they'll look and see when Facebook came along and they'll say, well, that's how old social media is. It goes way, way, way back further than that. And I think it's important to understand where it comes from and understand the driving force behind it if you want to be more successful using social media, right? It is literally in my book, it is the driving force behind the internet. It's what's making the internet grow exponentially, and it really is pushing it. And it's probably the number one reason people have these wonderful little smartphones and computers and such is because we want to do social media. It's probably the number one app that people are using right now on mobile is their Facebook app and their social media app. And you say, okay, what's driving that? What's really behind that? Well, if you understood it and you understood how to put, the content together that they would respond to, I think it's going to be a lot of fun for you. You're going to really be able to really take advantage of the social media in a different way than maybe you've thought about it in the past. So today's presentation is really about opening up your mind a little bit to saying, okay, there's some other things we can do. Video is really cool. Marianne, I see Marianne is here, and Vanessa just joined us. Fantastic. Video is really a cool medium in this new program. I haven't used Zoom before. This is my first time on Zoom, but it's a lot of fun to do. And it's opening up even more windows for us. But the same principles apply that applied even before we had video. They apply when you're going way back in time to a time way before there was what we call today social media. That's a new term, but it's not really describing anything so new. So let me give you a little bit of background of where I'm coming from so you kind of get the feeling that, I'm not just making this stuff up. I've been around for a little while. I'll give you a quick tour here. My very first computer, for some of you who have gone back in time. Yep, that's a TRS-80, Tandy Radio Shack 80. It stood for 1980. That was the very first computer I ever had. And it was really interesting back then. I just sort of was one of those people that, saw it and said, wow, I have to play with this thing. I couldn't get off it. It was actually my uncle's computer. And he finally went to my dad and said, I think you ought to buy your son one of these because I'd like to get on my computer and play with it too. It was just one of those things that was real attractive to me. Well, 1981 came along and I got on this computer. This was my very first computer, the one that I owned. And this really was how I got on the what we call the internet today for the very first time. Actually, back then, it really wasn't the internet. I'll give you a quick tour of that in a minute, too. But really, the computer itself was a box, and it allowed you to do things. You interact with the machine, and you could do certain things. And I remember my dad asking me back in 1981, so what are you going to do with this computer? I said, there are all kinds of things you can do. You can store your recipes. You can make databases. You could write reports and articles and things like that. And he goes, yeah, you don't do any of those. You know what I mean? So it was 1984. And I got online for the very first time, and that changed everything. This is a little service that was developed by Steve Case. I don't know if you know the name Steve Case, but he was one of the pioneers of the online world. And this was his first commercial network that was for Commodore 64 users. Of course, you're looking at this screen, you're going, my God, it's so ugly. But we didn't have anything fancy back then, right? We had, 8-bit graphics, literally. And, I was lucky to have a color monitor. Most people didn't. They were still using an amber screen, a green screen, or maybe just a black and white television to be able to look at what was going on. But I remember getting online the very first time. Now, I'm a kid, in 1984, I was 20. And I look at that and I said, did a report back in college and I said, this is going to change everything. At some point, our whole lives are going to revolve around a screen. And I knew this back in 1984. This is crazy, right? Thinking about that, because I was so blown away by what you could do online. And, later, about 1989, I made my very first sale using something that looked like this. It wasn't really the internet yet, but it was bulletin board services. These were computers that you'd log into. You'd have to dial up modem to modem, literally. So I can only have one or two people on this thing at a time. And, that's really where it went. That wasn't mine, by the way. That was somebody else's. Man, I wish I had a screenshot of my own bulletin board services, but I don't. And when people started to log in, and you could see that you could reach people that way, I made my very first sale online on a bulletin board service just like that. That was on an old IBM XT clone computer that was sitting in the corner of my bedroom with one modem attached. And the sale was made to somebody in Johannesburg, South Africa for $1,100. Now, talk about mind-numbing, right? It's like, wow, this came in the middle of the night because it was the middle of the night my time, but for them it was the middle of the day. There was something they wanted. They came on, they did dialed long distance, overseas long distance to connect to my computer, saw the information. There was a little form there and they could put in a credit card, no secure server, nothing secure at all back then. And I made that sale and I took the credit card number and I went over to the machine and ran it. And sure enough, it worked. And then I put the report in the mail and sent it off to them. Now, this is 1989. Now, I'm looking at this and saying, wow, there's a lot of opportunity here. We could make a lot of money on the bulletin board services. Now, World Wide Web didn't come out to about 1992, 1993. The web as we know it today, has really changed so much from back then. But, there was another service that, again, we go back to Steve Case. You guys remember this screen? Going back to Mike, 1995 now, right? America Online. Boy, that changed everything. That was the reason that the computer industry exploded. Beyond anything else, it was the ability, to connect, right? And get online. But what really drove America Online? If you start to think back and it's, okay, what drove the internet? What was it that drove these people to get on board and say, okay, I want to be on the internet. I have to have a computer because I want to connect with who? Well, it's social media, right? We want to connect with other people. Now, back then, this is what it looked like. And back then, people were paying 25 cents a minute to be connected to America Online, right? To get into these little chat rooms. Why? Because they can meet people. That early social media, this is where it came from. This is where the genesis of where it started. Actually, let me be a little bit clearer than that. It started before that, but it was really for the geeks, and it was something called Usenet, and it looked like this. This is the way, Facebook looked back in the 80s. You know what I mean? So you want to go back and look at it. It's like, but there's no graphics. There's nothing fancy about it. But, you look at it and you say, that is what's been driving the internet forever. And I've played with all of these. I've been on all these services for many, many years. And, I've come up through the ranks. Like I said, I started with computers in 1980, so I've been around for a while. And I've been watching the growth of social media. And if you start to look at it and you say, okay, so if people really want to connect, well, obviously, you look at websites like Meetup and you look at everyone wants to get together and they want to meet, they want to make new friends. And if you look at seminars, for instance, the reason people go to seminars is not what you think. Why are people coming to a webcast like this? Do you think it's because of me? No, it has nothing to do with me, right? What does it really have to do with? People want to connect. They want to meet other people. So they're going to find opportunities. They're going to find ways. They're going to get in the chat room. Maybe they'll click on your name. They'll find your profile on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, and they'll connect with you and say, hey, you and I were on the same webcast this morning. This Imbriale guy, man, he didn't know what he was talking about, right? He was babbling and babbling and babbling, but I had no idea what he was talking about. Or you could do all kinds of things like that. And that is what I found forever to be the number one reason. And I'll put my little name there in case you don't know how to spell it. Well, number one reason that people go to seminars is not necessarily for the content. Yeah, they might think they're going there for the content, but it really is for the networking. How do I know? Because I was one of those people way back when, and I would go to these kind of seminars, and I tell you, I would go for the networking. Why? Hand out business cards, collect business cards, make new friends, set up joint venture agreements, do joint venture deals, right? All of this stuff would come about because you were out there networking and meeting new people. Well, this is not a fluke. This is not something that only some people do. We're actually biologically wired to connect and meet with other people. We're not meant to be living alone in our little studio and not doing anything. Well, in my case, my little studio here, but we're not meant to do that. We're meant to get out and meet. We're meant to get out and network. We're meant to, people often ask me, Rob, what do I need to do? My business is stagnant. Things aren't moving. I say, well, how many people did you meet in the last week? And they'll go, what do you mean? I haven't met anybody. Well, that's why your business is stagnant, right? It's not that you don't have a market out there that wants what you have to offer. It's that you're not doing anything to meet those people who you can help. Terry Levine often talks about this. She says, she can go to a bookstore, hang out in the business book section, and strike up conversations with complete strangers and end up enrolling people in coaching programs, right? Now, you think about that, you say, that's nonsense. That is just too simplistic. How in the world can you do that? Well, I think one of the challenges we have is that we've gotten into this habit of thinking that we're connected to the world with these. And we're really not connected to the world with them. Really, we think we are, but, let's define the word friends, right? I love this conversation. I can go on this a long time. We say Facebook, I've got, 2,500 quote unquote friends. Do I know all of them? No. Have I met all of them? No. Why are we calling them friends? Right? Is that just the term we came up with? These are just friends? Well, it's redefined what that term means, right? So we don't know really how to interact as well with the strangers that we meet along our path all day long because of social media. Social media has really changed the dynamic. But it's not that it's not there, and it's not that those people who are standing there quietly next to you in the bookstore don't want to connect with you. They probably do. Not over something stupid. You don't want to start selling to them. But you may want to offer them a book recommendation. Hey, have you read so-and-so, the Kiyosaki book? Have you read Terry Levine's new book? Yes or no? That kind of thing. And you pull it off the shelf and show it to them and say, it's a great book. Here's what I think of it. Give them a little recommendation. Don't push them to buy it. That's not really the goal, but to give them an honest recommendation. Now, what I'm leading into with this is sort of the conversations that we're all having on social media. And you see some of them that work, and you see a lot of them that don't work. How many of you are the type of person, you don't have to raise your hand, who are the kind of people that watch a lot of social media, but you're passive about it, right? You don't necessarily get involved. You don't necessarily post there, 3, 4, 5 times a day. You're passive. You sit back and you watch and you're entertained by, your Facebook feed. Well, of course, a lot of us do that. I've been doing that for years, right? I've been looking at social media and chat rooms and all the rest of it, not necessarily jumping in all the time. When I feel like it, I do, but I'm not necessarily jumping up all the time. But we're passive. We tend to watch what other people do. What are they sharing? Why are they sharing it? Who are they sharing it with? How many likes are they getting? How many shares are they getting, right? So we can look and we can get some idea of what people are interested in. It always fascinates me, for instance, when I see videos come down my feed that people have shared, and you look and this one's got 41 million views. This one's got 21 million views. Guess what I do with those? I click on the top right and I go save video. Now, why in the world would I do that? Well, for the same reason that I learned direct mail way back when, and I used to be on every possible mailing list I can get my hands on, and I used to go to the post office literally every day and pick up my mail, and it was a bin, right? It was literally a bin. There was probably 100 pieces of mail a day or more, and I would go home at night, and my joy was to go through the mail and read the sales letters, 26-page sales letters, 14-page sales letters. You say, this Imbriale guy, man, he's got a screw loose, right? But it was the best education that I didn't have to pay for. All of that mail came to me free every day, and I had all this knowledge, and I could look at these letters and I could reverse engineer them, and I could learn from them, learn what these guys are doing. And I watched, for instance, back then I would watch people who would mail again and again and again. And what that told me was, you know what? They're doing something that's working, because if it didn't work, you'd see it once, you'd never see it again. Same thing with magazines. I got on every magazine list I could subscribe to. Remember, you get a lot of qualified subscriptions where you don't have to pay for them? Well, I would get 40 to 50 magazines every single month, and I would do the same thing. I would go through, hey, I've seen this ad before. I've seen this ad before. I've seen this ad before. And I would start tearing them out. And then I would reverse engineer and say, what is it about this ad? What is it that they're doing that's, people obviously responding? Because these ads at the time, I remember contacting some of the magazines, and they were $35,000 to run a full page ad. Right? So they're putting some good money. That was a lot of money back in the 90s, $35,000. Not that much today, but it's still a lot of money for some people. You look at it and you say, okay, $35,000 again and again, month after month after month, the ad must be working. They must be making money. They're going to be making more than $35,000, or they wouldn't be spending that kind of money. So then I went in and I said, okay, what are the commonalities here? What are the things that are the same from ad to ad to ad that are, making people respond? Would I respond to it? And sure enough, there's some that I would respond to. But those are really, that was an A folder, right? I responded to this ad. Okay, I know what kind of person I am. I know what buttons they're pushing here. And then I would start to use some of that in my marketing. That's why early on in my marketing career, back in 1991, 92, when I really started to get into the marketing world, my career did this. It jumped right up. I was working for a company that was basically on the verge of going out of business. They hired me as a director of marketing. They had a mailroom with 12, 14 employees. They were working 7 days a week. And I streamlined the whole thing, changed it all. We were sending out less money and making twice the money. twice the income because, I changed a lot of things in the dynamics of direct mail marketing. Now, why I tell you this is because that strategy is what I use today. So those of you who are sitting back, passively watching Facebook feeds and watching all the stuff that goes by, here's what I'd like you to do. Start saving or screen clipping, take a screen capture and put it into a folder somewhere on your computer of things that catch your attention. Now, why would you want to do this? Well, the same reason I was getting all this direct mail way back then. You really want to learn what is attractive about this piece, or what is attractive about this post, or what are they doing? What are they asking for? Some people will say, hey, if you like this post, please like it below. Well, that's really a good idea, right? Tell people what to do. They don't often think, not everyone thinks about liking. I actually have a lot of friends who've never liked anything on Facebook. They didn't know it existed. They didn't know what liking meant, right? So their feed is a jumbled mess because liking really tells Facebook what you like, and you'll see more of that. So that's how you sort of, clean up your feed, if you will. But a lot of people don't know unless you tell them. So you see some of these posts, they have that in there. Great. That's a tool. Put that aside. That's something you're going to want to use, right? And you look at some of the videos and say, okay, what is it about these videos that are getting people to watch again and again and again? And in the post, the original post, is there a link? They have a link back to their website. Okay, let me follow the link. What does a website look like? How are they making money? It's a cat video, for gosh sakes. How are they making money with this? And you click on the link and you go to the website, and the website's full of ads, right? And you say, okay, I see the monetization strategy here. They're just, ad revenue is what they're doing. So they're putting out this video that's going to get shared virally again and again and again, hoping that people click the link. A lot do, not everyone, but a lot do. They come back to the site and they display ads. Every time ads are displayed and clicked on, there's money to be made. So you have a lot of guys who are making money just doing that. They're not building an audience. They're just making ad revenue is all they're doing. So it's like a money pump for them. So they just keep posting stuff on Facebook day in, day out. They find viral content, they repost it. And of course you come along and go, that was a funny cat video. And you share it with your audience. You just help them, right? You just help make them some more money in the hopes that you're going to make your friends laugh. So very good job. But these are the kind of things you want to look for in social media because it's happening and it's free for you to look. It's free for you to save. It's free for you to learn from if you want to. You don't have to. Some people are not into that kind of thing, but that's how I learned my direct marketing, and that's how I learned my social media. And there's three things I'm going to give you today. These are writer downer kind of things that will really change the way you look at social media from a different perspective than, let me just show you how to post on Facebook, or let me show you what button to push. I don't want to get into that because that changes all the time. That's not good content to share with you. Good content to share with you is, let's suppose that you're going to build a building, right? A skyscraper. That's your job. You're going to build a skyscraper. What's more important to building that skyscraper? What you're going to finish the outside with? Is it going to be glass? Is it going to be stucco? Is it going to be brick? Is it going to be wood? Is that the most important thing, or is it the structure that's underneath that you can never see? What's more important? Well, to me, it's the structure that's underneath, because you get that right, it doesn't matter what you cover the outside with, that building's not going to fall down. So in publishing, we call this the wireframe, and I think it's called that in other industries as well. But the wireframe is the structure that you can't see. Not visible, right? When you put the facade on the building, you no longer see the beams, you no longer see the uprights and all the rest of that stuff. It's all hidden. So it becomes a frame. Well, in publishing, it's the wireframe. It's the layout of the page or the layout of the catalog. There is a structure to it. And if you go look through a catalog, you'll see the same wireframe page after page after page. You may have 3 or 4 different ones that they use, but they repeat. So here's the wireframe A. They're using it on page 6, 9, and 19, right? You'll see the exact same layout, different photos, different text and everything. But they don't redo it every time because it makes it harder for the person reading the magazine to follow when the layouts change too much. So they try to keep it really tight. So in social media and marketing and all the rest of it, there are strategies behind the strategies. There are things you can do to really get your social media to be more responded to, shared more often, that if you put them into it, it really doesn't matter what the content is. If you put these elements into it, it's like making a great soup, right? You put the right spices in, doesn't matter if the soup's, pea soup, or, it could even be Brussels sprout soup, and you spice it right, people will eat it. Otherwise, they're not going to touch it. The same thing. So you got to have these ingredients. I'm going to give them to you. Like I said, these are things you want to write down. And I think they're so important. And I found this interesting. I'll tell you where I found these. These were at a Tony Robbins seminar back in the 90s. I had gone to a seminar of his in New York City. And outside the seminar room, wasn't something he was talking about from stage. There was a poster. And it was on one of those, easel stands, and it was just standing there, and on the top it said E3. And I thought, E3, that's interesting. And I looked at what it was, and I said, I don't know, something about this. This is really important. So I wrote it down. I wrote down everything that was on that poster. I said, this is important because this is the wireframe behind his seminars. It's the wireframe behind all of his content. Now, you can use the same wireframe behind all of the content. It's not going to work all the time for your social media. Some posts are not going to be able to do that, but you want to strive to hit all these 3 buttons. And I wrote it down, and for forever, it's been like one of the most important things that I've been using in my marketing and, of course, in the consulting that I do for other clients. When I work with them, I give them this, and I say, this is what we need to strive for. Don't hit it every time, obviously, but we want to get it as much as possible. Now, number 1, you probably know, you get the little cat video out there. What is a cat video, right? What is the primary element of the cat video? Well, here it is. It's entertaining. So that's number 1 in your social media. You want to strive to be entertaining. It's got to be funny. It's got to be enlightening. It's got to put a smile on my face. May not be a belly roll laugh kind of thing, but it's got to be something more than the mundane. Now, a lot of people are doing coaching, and I'm doing something called the Coach's Corner on here as well. And, a lot of people will go out and they'll just give content. Talking head. Good, that gets you there, but it leaves out the entertainment section, right? The entertainment part's real important. So look at movies, for example. This is one of my favorite analogies. You look at the movies and you say, okay, so what's so exciting about a movie? Well, there's a lot of entertainment value there, but it misses the other 2 that I'm going to give you in a minute. So entertainment's there, yeah, we got it, but when you leave the movie, what happens? An hour later, you're back to where you were. Nothing much has really changed. Very few movies will shock you and change you in such a way that you walk away from that movie a changed person. How often do you hear that? Pretty much never. Right? So social media, we look at the things that are getting shared, they're entertaining. So that's number 1 on the list, is got to find a way to make it entertaining. It doesn't have to be rolling on the floor laughing funny. It could just be an anecdotal story. It could just be, something that's happening in real time, in real life. You got a lot of political stuff right now. Of course, I don't encourage political stuff on Facebook or Twitter because, you alienate pretty much half of your audience when you do it. It's just not important. Nobody really cares who you're voting for. But if it's political and not really one-sided kind of political stuff, hey, that's great. You can do that kind of thing. But you can find the humor. It's one of the things you have to look to do in probably every aspect of your communications is find humor and add it to it. Because the truth is, when people laugh, they really want to follow you. When you give them something that's funny, give them something that's entertaining. If you come out here and you do a webcast, hi, I'm Rob, and today you and I are going to talk about I think we're going to talk about social media. That's what I had written down. That's not working, right? You guys are going to be like, click off. I'm going to go do something else. My computer's running. I've got Facebook. I've got all these things that can distract me. I'm not going to continue to pay attention to this. It's just too darn boring. So don't be boring. Be entertaining. And like I said, not necessarily rolling on the floor funny, but be entertaining. Spice it up a little bit. I'm putting little screen graphics up and things like that change the dynamic a little bit so it's just not a talking head the whole time. So I'm looking to get that entertainment value. So you say, okay, this may not be, like watching a movie. I'm not sitting here laughing, but, I'm learning something along the way, and it's entertaining. It's fun. There's some stories woven in that, get people laughing a little bit or get them to smile. Really, that's all you're looking for. So the entertain is number 1. I want you to make sure you get that in your notes because it is that important. Take a little sip of water here as we keep going. Okay, I'm sure you want to know what number 2 is because when you stack these 3 together, it becomes really powerful. Number 2, you obviously have to educate, right? That's what most of us are. Most of us are coaches. Most of us are in the business somehow of training people, teaching people. And, the truth is we want to make sure that those folks really learn something from us because if they learn something, probably they're going to be changed in some way. So we can go back to the same idea of the movie, and we could say if it's a movie, it's entertaining, but it's not really educational. Some movies are, but for the most part, if you're going to the theater, paying $10 for a ticket, you're not going to get educated a whole lot, right? So you're going to get this situation where you're going to be entertained and not educated. So you got one piece, but not the other. What if you could do both? What if you can educate in an entertaining manner? Now you've got something. Now that's something that's a piece of content that's going to get shared again and again and again, right? And it can be talking head as long as the stories are intriguing, as long as it's something you want, your audience would pay attention to. You're not going to lose their attention because you're giving them something. You're giving them something to laugh about. You give them a joke here and now and again. You don't have to be funny all the time, just a little bit. And in so doing, those stories are also educational. So when they walk away, they say, I spent an hour with this guy or this gal and I've learned something. Isn't that cool? That would be like the greatest thing, those two things. But we can go one step further than that too. And the other piece is, and we're all excited about this one, right? When I show it to you, you'll know right away. Here it is. You want to empower them. In other words, you want to give them something that they can do. They can walk away from your training. They can walk away from, your free ebook or your website or your blog post, and they can put it to use. Great to be entertained. Great to be educated. Even better if you can empower. So you've got those three pieces, the three E's, or E3 as Tony Robbins had put it. And I thought this was brilliant stuff because if you do that, your content's going to get shared. It's going to be entertaining. It's going to be educational. And boy, it's empowering. So when you look at your feed, ask the questions, right? Is this entertaining? Was it fun to watch? Yes or no? Then, you'll know right away. And what's funny for me may not necessarily be funny for you. That's okay. We all have a little bit of a different sense of humor. That's great, right? So was it entertaining? Was it enjoyable to watch? Yeah, it was entertaining. It was a great way to spend 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. Was it educational? Yeah, I learned something. And was it empowering? Can I walk away from it with the feeling that, I can put this into action. I can do something with this. So if you answer yes to all those three, that's a winning post. That's a winning Facebook post. That's a winning Twitter post. That's a winning Instagram post, right? Those kind of things. And you'll see you'll get shared a lot. You'll get a lot of likes. You'll get a lot of traction. Of course, you want to have links to your websites and let people know what else you're doing and bring them in. Now, the other piece that is real important, if we go back to this, all right, going back to 1995, right? So you look at this, you say, what was really going on here? Why were people so intrigued about this? This is ugly. This is nothing like we're used to today, but it was the prettiest you could do back then in Windows 95, right? And you say, what is it about that? What was really going on? Well, people were forming relationships. And they were meeting new people and they were growing their network. And, there was all kinds of stuff being shared. Sometimes there were documents. Sometimes they would share images, but you couldn't see them on screen. You actually had to download them to view them locally is how they would do it. And I had back then a secretary at the company I was working for. She was over $1,100 in debt because of America Online, the chat rooms. And so I had to ask the question. I said, and over what period of time? She says 1 month, 25 cents a minute. Over a month, she spent over $1,100. That's a lot of time online, right? And you say, okay, so what's really going on here? Is it entertaining? Yeah, absolutely. Is it educational? Maybe, maybe not. Is it empowering? Probably not. She wasn't much better off, but yet they were still there for that. And you look at it today and you say, okay, we can take it one step further because we now have the ability to do what we're doing right here, live streaming video, which is fantastic. I just love this tool, a very powerful tool. You can reach out in new ways. So if you take where we were and you take where we are, right now the opportunity is here like it's never been before. I mean, a lot of you might be thinking, well, I don't think I'm good on camera. I don't think I can get on camera. I don't think I can do this. Well, it maybe not the first day. You're right. Maybe not, but you can keep practicing. There's some things you can do locally. There was a fellow, I can't remember his name offhand. It'll come to me. Maybe not. Anyway, doesn't matter. He started out and he had just a webcam on his laptop. And what he would do is he would record a video a day. Didn't publish them anywhere. He would just record a video a day to get better and better at it. So he'd get on his Mac and he would open up the video app and he would just deliver a short presentation, 5 to 7 minutes long every day. And he got better and better and better at it. And soon he started publishing them. Didn't publish them for a couple of months, literally had that many of them. And over a couple of months, he got better and better at it, asked his friends, how can I improve? What can I do to get a little bit better? And he got better and better. So if you're afraid of video, that's a very simple strategy to not be afraid of doing live video. I'm using very simple stuff right here. I'm using a Logitech webcam, which is basically a little bit better than the webcam that's in your laptop. And the video quality is great. It looks great. This is a $40, $50 microphone. It's not a super expensive microphone. The more expensive stuff is behind me. But for this is, this setup works great. So we have a unique opportunity right here. As you can tell with Facebook right now, there are a lot of live videos being shared because they're easy to do. You don't even need the setup. You've got this and you can do live streaming all day. And those videos are getting priority over everything else. So I would suggest that you say, what's the best thing you can do in live media or social media right now? It's live video by far. It's like leapfrogging everything else that's out there. So that's number one. If you can be entertaining on your video, that's even better. You're starting to see videos now that are even more produced. I don't know how many of you have seen any of the recent Jeff Dunham videos that are out there. He's been putting a lot of videos up. He is producing those videos, not with a video crew, with an iPhone. Literally, he's producing those videos with an iPhone. Of course, they, as people who knows what they're doing, and they can edit and they can do sound effects and things like that. But really, the technology has gotten to a point where it's available to everyone at that very, very low price point. So he's doing things that are entertaining. And of course, they get shared a lot, no question. And now you're starting to see marketers learn from that. They're paying attention. They're going, oh, if I want to teach, if I want to get out there and train, I want to reach a lot of people, I'm going to have to be a little bit more entertaining. So instead of just the talking head, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to add some more dynamic pieces to it. We're going to have a shot of me walking into my office, a shot of me getting out of the car. We're going to have, and then they go in, they edit it all together. iMovie is so simple to use, or Windows Movie Maker. There's, little programs out there that are so simple, so easy to use. You cut all this together and bang, you pop it up on Facebook, and, you can be able to tell your story in a different way. It doesn't have to be just a talking head. So the entertainment value is there because it's not boring. It's just not a talking head for an hour like I'm doing here, which hopefully you guys aren't falling asleep on me. Hopefully you're having some fun here, because I know I am. But just because it's fun for me doesn't necessarily mean you're enjoying it as well. But you can do that now a lot easier. So what I'm going to leave you with today, is we're going to run short on time, where this particular account on Zoom, I think it cuts me at 40 minutes. Yeah, it says my free meeting will end in 10 minutes. Okay. There we go. We got the warning. Now we know. So what I want to leave you with today is a little bit of insight into, playing with social media. Number one, if you're passive about it, I would suggest you start getting a little bit more active and start posting things. Does it mean every post is going to be perfect? Absolutely not. There's a lot of stuff I post that gets 0 likes and 0 shares, but I learned from that. Each one of them is an opportunity to look at it and go, okay, I thought that was funny, but nobody else did. My sense of humor is not matching my audience. That's okay. I'll go and find something else that I can post that will get shared a little bit more. Number two, make sure you use hashtags. Hashtags are important, especially in Twitter and Instagram. That's how you get your content shared beyond the people who follow you, right? A lot of people follow hashtags and not necessarily people. So if you use hashtags like hashtag entrepreneur, hashtag business owner, if that's the market you're going after, it goes beyond your feed. And that's how you start finding more people. Always ask people to like, always ask people to share. And like I said, if you can keep it entertaining, if you can keep it educational and empowering, you're not going to get them all the time that way, but if you can, you're going to find that you're going to get a lot of traction on social media, and your content's going to go way beyond what you thought it would do. So those are some of the keys. I would love to hear your comments, your feedback. You can always email me, Robert at ultimatewealth.com, and I'll be there for. I'll be able to answer your questions. I'm just looking at the chat room, getting distracted. I got to stop doing that. Okay. I can answer your questions if you have questions, and, be happy to do that. Also, I want to let you know something I'm working on that is a lot of fun. It's called the marketingnetwork.tv. I welcome you to go over there, marketingnetwork.tv. There's a little link that says Facebook. You can click on that and go see the Facebook page. There is an interview I did recently with our friend, Terry Levine, and you could watch the first half of the interview for free, and the second half, if you want to watch the whole thing, is for members. If you want to become a member of the Marketing Network, I'd love for you to do that. That would be great for you to join us. And my email address, robert@ultimatewealth.com. I don't have a slide for that. I really should have a slide. I don't. But Yeah. Let's see. You'll find it. If you go to marketingnetwork.tv and sign up for the newsletter on there, or like us on the Facebook page, you can find me. I'm not hard to find. And I'll just put my name back up there again so you can see how it's spelled. And yeah, I think that's all I wanted to leave you with today. So I want to thank you for being here. This was a lot of fun. I had fun with it, and I hope you did as well. And I'll be looking forward to your comments, your feedback, and let's have a great time on social media. There's a lot to do out there. There's a lot of people that we can reach and a lot of lives we can change. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. We'll talk to you again real soon.